And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you, Vincent Jenna with us, known as the Tell It Like It Is, and truly authentic spiritual teacher and psychic therapist. He combines these extraordinary psychic abilities, academic credentials, and genuine, all-loving approach to provide healing for body, mind, and spirit. And as a psychic therapist, Vincent uses his more than 36 years of training, research, experience in the metaphysical, psychological, spiritual fields to help dive deeply into your psyche, to release blockages, resistance, and self-sabotaging beliefs. He's on Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, and his website is his name, linked up at coasttocoastam.com. Vince, always great to have you on the program.
Oh, my God, George, it's so great to be back here. I hope you are doing well.
I am well, and how about yourself, my friend?
Absolutely, and keeping busy, especially in these times.
These are strange times, aren't they? Have you ever seen them stranger than this?
No, definitely not in my time period. I've been around for 68 years, and I can tell you right now, this is the strangest time. And so hopefully we can get some things done here.
Vince, how did you enhance your psychic abilities? How did this begin for you?
Well, it began because I wanted to help a friend whose life was in crisis, and at that time I was a professional singer, actor, and dancer, and I knew nothing about counseling anyone. And so it was a cry out to Spirit, to God, to give me the ability to help a friend like this in this need and others like him. And so it was within a week's time, Steven Spielberg, Cecil B. DeMille, they would have put together a movie exactly like the one that happened to me. And so it was over a period of a couple of months, and then things just started developing. And I spent a lot of time studying it, researching it, Edgar Cayce material, other material, and paranormal and metaphysical and spiritual material, and then eventually psychological material. So because I was getting into that brain, I wanted to know everything about it. So there's where it led me, right to where I am today.
Edgar Cayce was one of a kind, wasn't he?
He absolutely was, and still his material is still relevant and profound today. Like things that he says about what's going on the earth that he said years ago that is still, effective today. So it's great material. I love his stuff.
I still go by his remedies, Vincent, the things that he said about health-related issues. I go by the book when he talks.
Yes. My father actually did that, too, when my father had psoriasis and my mother-in-law had psoriasis. And Edgar Cayce actually put out how to cure psoriasis, and there are doctors that follow his methods. And so we followed them and absolutely helped. And certainly I use Vicks Vapor Rub, and that was one of his formulas.
I love it. They probably developed it from him.
They did, absolutely. That was a formula he put out, which was amazing.
That is something.
Still today, everything is working, yes.
You have a spirit guide named Joseph, and you also tap into an intergalactic alien council. Tell us first about the guide, Joseph.
Well, Joseph introduced himself to me in the very beginning of this entire episode with me in Spiritual Awakening. He actually began trancing through me before Abraham tranced through Esther Hicks. And so I was going way back, but it's now 40 years, actually, that I had been working with him, and he's been helping me gain the material, get the downloads, be able to present it, introduce me to my angel guides, and let me know that every step of the way that I was going to be helped in all this work that I do. So as long as I keep an open mind and an open heart and have great faith, I keep getting this guidance. So, yeah, Joseph was my main man, and he really helped me a lot. And that Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dream Coach Joseph even helped me with dreams and dream interpretation right from the get-go. So it's been an amazing journey with him.
And he stayed by you.
He's constantly here with me, as well as this alien council, the Intergalactic Council that came along and introduced themselves to me a few years ago, and they've been downloading a whole bunch of information to me that's really been helpful in my being able to help others and unblock things with people. So it just, to have more information about life and what's going on in life is the greatest power that we can have, is information. And certainly they've been helping me, and Joseph's been helping me. Jesus, ascended masters, everybody can tap into their own guides and their own ascended masters and the angels, and it really is a great help.
Is this the Joseph who was the raising father of Jesus?
No, this Joseph was the Joseph that saved Egypt during its time of drought.
Ah,
In the
okay.
musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat Joseph, the Joseph from Canaan. So he was before Joseph and Mary.
All right, interesting. Now, this Intergalactic Alien Council, how did they approach you? How did this start?
Well, I had just finished. I'm sitting in my office. I had just finished the reading. So you just got to picture this. There I am. I'm sitting there by myself in quiet, and it's really nice. And all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, I hear in my head, in my inner ear, we would like to speak with you. And so I'm looking around thinking, okay, I'm a medium. Maybe there's a spirit here, but I'm not feeling any spirit energy at all. I'm looking around. I can't see anything, feel anything, know anything. I just heard we'd like to speak with you. It's almost like when you wake up from a dream because somebody called your name, and you know you heard it, but there's nobody there. So I'm looking at my plants. Now I'm looking, going, oh, my goodness, are they starting to talk to me? Holy cow, am I losing it over here? What? And they said, no, this is the Intergalactic Council. We are a council of spirit aliens, that what you would call alien, and we are in another dimension. And that's when I was like, holy cow, wait, but you're telling me that you're extraterrestrials in spirit? And they confirmed that. That's how it all began. And I said, well, why me? That's the greatest question that people ask. It's like, why is this happening to me? Why are you speaking with me? And they were telling me because of, one, my belief about aliens always was more positive than on the negative side to start with. And I always had an interest with aliens. But also because I was coming out into the world, and I've been doing media shows and interviews all over the country. And they felt that if I had proper information about them, I could help people completely understand not only why they are visiting here, the different things that they are doing to humans and the earthly plane, and help people understand that and lose their fear, but also explain things that we still don't, have answers to, like what are cryptids and Skinwalker Ranch and Armageddon and black holes, things like that. They've been loading me with unbelievable amount of information, especially lately, George.
Are these intergalactic aliens who once were living and they're now dead, but their spirits continue, or are they still
absolutely
aligned?
No, they are. So there's the living extraterrestrials that, just like us, we're on Earth, they're on their planet, and these are spirit ones in spirit. They were alive, they're now deceased, and now they're in spirit. Just like we have the spirit with their angels and their mom and dad that are on the other side, or a sister and brother or loved one, whatever, that are on the other side, that's where they are too. But this particular council came together because they are spirits that were incarnating on different and in different universes, on different planets. And so
amazing.
They're together helping to guide all of us in our incarnations down here and in everywhere else.
They seem to have an interest in Sasquatch. What is that?
Oh, well, all the cryptids. Sasquatch is a cryptid, an animal that could be mythical or strange in some way, right? Well, think about what ancient Greece came up with, those mythical creatures that they wrote about. Well, in actuality, what they were tapping into is the memories of Atlantis. All of those cryptids originally came when we first came down here on this earth, in this earthly plane. We were like a bunch of kids let loose at Toys R Us without any adult supervision. And we had our powers all with us. And so we're playing with those powers. So we took all the different creatures that Spirit created before we came down here, and we started messing with them. So we would take wings from the birds and we would put them on the horses. That was Pegasus, right? And then we would take a man's head and also put it on a horse in another way. And so there were all of these creatures we created that are actually now the cryptids. The DNA, once once Atlantis was destroyed, and we actually helped to destroy Atlantis, we did that ourselves because we abused our powers. But the DNA still lasts. It lasts forever, just like we have some old dinosaur DNA that's evolved into some of the reptiles today. And so this DNA lasted, and it wound up being spread out over the earthly plane. We were once one big giant continent way back when. And as it split apart, the creatures split apart with it. And so the different animals that we created, and Sasquatch is one of them completely. And also, Sasquatch also represents the first attempt at making modern man, which was really interesting. So it does have some gorilla DNA mixed with some hybrid DNA in an attempt to make an upright, standing, mobile being. But that is actually the end of the Neanderthal race and the beginning of the modern man race. Right after Sasquatch came us, what you see today as modern humans. And so Sasquatch was actually the ending of that development. And we saw, it was a pretty good creation as far as we were concerned. It's just like, okay, gorillas were all hunched over. They couldn't get around everywhere that they wanted to, and certainly couldn't be able to develop into the societies that we have today, staying like that. And that was the Neanderthal then that came along, right? And so we took the Neanderthal, we took the gorilla, we tried to put it together, let's make it upright. The aliens actually spliced DNA to help us with that. And Sasquatch, like I said, is the end just before modern man came out. And once you see modern man, that's it. And there's not a lot of Sasquatches around. There's only a few. And it's not just in this country. There are some of those Sasquatch-type creatures in other worlds as well, in other countries as well around the world.
Why can't we get a body of a Sasquatch, Vincent, or a live specimen?
They're pretty smart. They've been living in this planet for such a long time. They know how to escape the male hunting and the human hunting of them. And we can capture some pictures. We obviously have seen some photos of them, but we can never find them because they know the Earth better than we know the Earth. We think we know the Earth. We're learning more about the Earth, right? As centuries go by, we wind up learning even more about it and the ecology here. But they are part of this Earth. They've been here longer than we have as modern man and humans. So they have a way of being able to get around and hide and just keep themselves from being seen or caught. And there's not that many of them to start with to get them. If they had larger populations, George, there'd be an easier time getting them. But they're not a large population. They're a very small population. And they can relocate in an instant if we do find a nesting area of them. But they can hide very quickly because they're more connected to the Earth than we are. And they hear us coming, just like animals do. They sense the energy. They sense the vibration. They feel the vibration of change. Well, they feel our vibration, too, coming along because they are so closely tied to the Earth and the vibration of the Earth.
This Intergalactic Alien Council, what do they want with us?
Nothing more than to help us. They are our big brothers and sisters who evolved quicker than we did. When we were first created, and then all of the universes were created, the universes were created for us to experience ourselves. And we were told we can go anywhere. Wherever you want to go ahead and be over there and come home, and we'll talk about it and see how much you've learned and grown. And you get to experience your magnificence, your divinity. Go ahead. And so each of us as souls decided to incarnate in our own universes and worlds, just the same as they did. Now, as we die, the body dies, and we go back and we put things together, we grow. And so they were getting better ideas quicker than we were. They were attempting to share some with us because we basically go to the same place, the same dimension, with all souls once we leave the physical body. And so they definitely advanced more. You can see that in a family. You can have a bunch of kids going to the same grade, the same school, learning the same material, and some of the kids just get it quicker than the other kids. And the other kids, maybe some of them have to be left back and have to go through the process again. And then the other ones advance and go on to greater schools and greater learning, right? Well, that's exactly what happened with the souls. And we were the less evolved souls. So why are they coming here? Because it's taking us such a long time to evolve that we're actually creating different organisms and diseases that are destroying and hurting our bodies and actually keeping us from being able to evolve quicker. And so in their attempt to hasten our evolvement, they've come to the earth. They helped us understand building and different leverages in order to build things like the pyramids, the sphinxes, and some of the buildings that we build today. We can't even replicate some of the buildings that we did from way back when. And so they had to help us with that to move us along. And they take the body in order to get some of the genetics out of it and figure out ways, okay, they've got this disease going on. What do they need in their DNA and their genes here in order to keep from getting those diseases, to have an immune system that's stronger and can fight some of them. So that's what they have been doing since they've been coming here. And nowadays, they're absolutely coming more and more and more. And their involvement, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Would they defend us if an alien race tried to destroy us?
That is the thing that everybody has to understand. There is no such a race that would destroy us. Every alien that comes to the earth is benevolent, not malevolent. Albert Einstein knew that because he definitely believed in extraterrestrials. And he proposed that in order for an extraterrestrial to escape their universe and come to ours or any others, they would have to have command of spiritual principles. They would have to know themselves as souls to be able to bypass the physicality of their universe. And one of the reasons why we're having a difficult time and we're trying to figure out even their propulsion methods and how they get around, because they do research. They've got, ships that have crashed here that the scientists have been exploring and studying for years now. And they can't replicate anything because they're still in this physical-oriented mind rather than a spiritual understanding of who we are. We dematerialize. There are actually cells, and Dr. Joe Dispenza has shown this in many of his books, that we have cells in our body where an electron of one atom in one place in our body will dematerialize and appear in another atom in another place of our body in order to have shared properties. And so without understanding quantum physics and that we are more space than we are solid, then we're not going to be able to escape our universe. They can because they understand that. Therefore, if they have command of spiritual principles, they're not going to be here to hurt us. They're only going to be able to help us.
We're going to take a short break, Vince. We'll come back and chat more with you on Coast to Coast AM. Vincent Genna with us. He's amazing. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie back with Psychic Vincent Genna as we are talking about this incredible intergalactic alien council. Vincent, have you ever seen them, or is this something that just comes to you telepathically?
Most of the information, George, comes to me telepathically, but there have been a few times they've actually presented themselves to me just like a regular spirit does. When I'm working with a client and they want to talk with mom or their lover comes in, your partner or child, they can make me see what they used to look like. Well, the Alien Council have done the same thing. And so definitely there has been a vision of what some may call a gray, the typical vision of an alien, a lot more sophisticated than what we draw, that's for sure. of aliens. They're not monsters, and they don't look like spiders, and they, have giant teeth that are going to rip our heads off. There's nothing like that. And so, yes, they have come to me occasionally, and even sometimes physically, they're attempting to come and visit me. And I had two very tall ones come to my bedroom door one evening while I was in bed, and I was just kind of like coming in and out of a sleep, and I saw them standing there. And I have to admit, I have done this work. I have seen, spirits all over in my home, at public places, and I have no fear of them whatsoever. But as soon as I saw these two, like, in my home, all of a sudden my heart started racing. I'm like, oh, my gosh, are we going to have a, conversation here? Do I need to get up and make a cup of coffee for you guys? What? And it just freaked me out a bit, and they left immediately. As soon as they saw that I was in the least bit uncomfortable, they immediately disappeared. So I try to tell them, hey, guys, do me a favor. Wait until it's daylight. It makes it a lot easier to accept. I know you have strange looks. We're not used to your looks and appearance. But if you come to me, knock on the door and say, hey, we're just here for a visit, let's sit down and talk, it'll be a lot easier that way.
A lot of people, Vincent, are concerned about Revelation, the end times prophecy. What do they say, if anything, about that?
They have given a lot of information about that. See, since early times, even with the concept of the Messiah, people have always looked at it to be a global experience. Okay, the Messiah is coming. There's going to be peace all over the world. And now with the book of Revelation that was written, right, the same idea, we read into it, and we read the symbols as a global thing, the coming again of Christ. And before that happens, there's going to be Armageddon and all of this destruction. Well, in actuality, all the predictions, and even Nostradamus started talking about predictions and was leading into the apocalypse and the idea that were, put forth in the book of Revelation about coming to the end of the world, right? Well, there's two parts to that. First is the physicality of what's going on. We actually help to create the destruction that goes on this planet. The same thing happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. That was the message for us, that our negativity actually affects the planet. It's not that God does the destroying. It's that we're tapped into this force and this power, and we do it. So the same thing can happen, which is what's written in all of the predictions and the book of Revelation, is that there is going to be this kind of destruction. However, the coming again of Christ and the lifting up of the souls and the breaking of the seals and the Messiah coming again is all about personal experience that we must each go through. The supposed seven seals in the book of Revelation are our seven chakras. And quite honestly, people go to get their chakras healed. They go to expos, and they'll go to a metaphysical healing person, and that person works on their chakras. Well, in actuality, each of those chakras represents another emotional aspect to humans. And we have to go through different emotional understandings for us to grow and evolve spiritually, whether it be about relationships, whether it be about our self-image and self-love, all of those things. So the book of Revelation and Armageddon is actually describing what we need to go through and break down. And yes, as we break through those seals and we start working on those different chakra levels, yes, there's going to be all these emotional things going on. That's actually the reason why I wrote my book, is to help people go through that process individually. And as you go through that, you are raising the Christ spirit within you. And Christ, all the word Christ means is man with God, human with God, our connection to source, which is the way we were created to start with and who we really are. We're connected to the power. And so as we begin to clear away all of that garbage, all of that negativity inside each of us, we're raising that energy to a higher vibration. All of the material and the metaphysical and spiritual material that's coming out today is all talking about that, raising the vibration, raising ourselves and ascending to the fifth dimension, George. It's all about a personal experience. The Messiah is about you coming again and reconnecting to the peace, to the beauty of who we are. And once we do it individually, it happens collectively, automatically. Just like your individual negativity feeds into the negative pool of the environment, of the world, it also affects us individually. Our own negativity affects our body, our lifestyle, all of those choices that we make. So Armageddon, the way they explained it, is a personal experience, not an earthly experience. We are not going through Armageddon right now, but we are going through the understanding of what all this negativity can cause.
But we
begin to understand that.
There seems to be chaos everywhere, though, Vincent. Do you feel it?
Oh, there is. Oh, it is everywhere. It's worldwide, because when you forget who you are as a spiritual being, you live in fear. And what you're seeing the results of is people in fear. And when you're living fear and you're not living in faith and understanding that you're greater than this physical body, that we don't die, there's a continuation of life, all you're doing then is living off of trying to protect yourself and save yourself and help yourself. And so you forget about who you really are, and then you forget about who your neighbor is and your relationship with this earth. So, yes, it becomes very chaotic. There's anarchy, spiritual anarchy going on the earth today, and that's what you're seeing all over the world. So you're just seeing people acting like humans, not acting like spiritual beings having a human experience. We forgot the spiritual side of us, and the result is what you're seeing in the world today.
How can we turn that around and make this a better planet?
Well, you get my book. That was definitely a great lead into it. My book is about, and there's other books out there, obviously. It's just not my book alone, but about going through the personal experience. First of all, most humans do not believe what they think they believe about themselves or about life. They want to have positive beliefs because we've been taught that. Have a positive attitude, have a positive outcome. You know, do you look at the glass of water as half empty or half full? I actually look at the glass and saying, hey, at least I've got some water. You know, so I don't look at it either way. And we think that we believe in ourselves. We think we believe that we're lovable. We think we believe that we're good enough to have the career of our lives. But in actuality, deep down, that voice inside our head that's been accumulating since we were born is telling us the opposite. No, you're not good enough. No, you're not smart enough. No, you're not lovable enough. And the brain actually has to protect us from feelings like that. Otherwise, we would never be productive. So it creates a defense mechanism to help shield and protect you from those negative beliefs. So you're walking around with some very positive beliefs, but they're actually false. You're not believing in that. And that's the reason why you're not creating and manifesting what you want, and thus you feel nothing but lack. You're creating lack for yourself because you're putting out into the universe false and not secure or strong vibrations or desires. And so you're putting out into the universe actually the reverse, and you're getting the reverse of what you want. So people feel that, nobody's taking care of me, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me. And so, yes, as you become an adult, they become defenses against everybody else and negative. So you've got to go within. You've got to acknowledge what it is that you're really believing about yourself before you can change it. And those beliefs started very early on in our childhood, the way we were treated and raised and the messages we received from the environment. And there's so many negative messages out there today, especially for children. They're growing up in broken homes. They're growing up with abusive parents, parents who don't even want them, right? And so change what's inside and you'll change what happens outside.
When you do readings next hour, is it your spirit guide, Joseph, who is feeding you? Where do you get the information?
I actually connect with the person's soul. So it's like Carl Jung actually phrased this, the collective unconscious mind. He was a student of Sigmund Freud, and he believed that we are all connected to this place, this area, this library, this this bookstore, whatever anybody wants to call it, the Akashic Records, that has all the information about us. So what I basically do, if you want to put a picture to it, I'm talking to a person. I go into this bookstore, this library, and I look up the person's name, and I take out the book on that person. And that's the same thing as tapping into the Akashic Records. That's the person's soul and a record of that person. So I can see what's been in the past, and I can see what could be coming up in the future. Because we have free will, we can change the future all the time. And so I tap into that person's soul. And it's so funny because some people think you need to do that in person, like they're carrying all their records on them in their body. It's like, don't you read better if we're in person? I'm like, no, I have to go to the same place, whether you're right next to me or whether you're 10,000 miles away. I still have to go to that dimension in order to tap into your soul and get the records of who you are and where you're going. So that's it. And if I do need help, based on maybe somebody that they had experienced that was either trouble or somebody who was helpful, I will ask some of my guides then to help me out. Hey, can you direct me to this soul or bring that soul or that spirit here that would help her or help him understand a little bit more? So that's the time that I will turn to them, but the rest of the time I connect right with the soul.
The title of Vincent's book is called The Secret That's Holding You Back. What is that secret, Vincent?
The secret that's holding you back is the fact that you don't believe what you think you believe, and you've got to understand what you really do believe, what's been kept secret from you, what your mind is doing, what your brain does, so that you can survive and so that you can function. So in one aspect, that brain helps us to live. The two highest functions of the human brain is one, to keep us alive. That's the highest function. And the second highest function is to protect us in order to keep us alive. Well, if we lived strictly by those early beliefs that we had about ourselves, we wouldn't progress. We wouldn't do anything. We would just sit around and everybody would be experiencing major depressive disorder. Those people that we see out there who experience those mental pathologies are ones that don't have this defense mechanism working for them. They don't have the coping skills a psychotherapist would say. And so the brain helps to develop coping skills. But because we're more than body and mind, we're body, mind, and spirit. We want to evolve. We don't want to just exist. And so that's what's been the problem is we're just existing. We're just surviving in the world. We're just coping in the world rather than thriving. And so that's the whole secret is you can now turn this around and learn again how to thrive, but you've got to do the work yourself now. You've got to be responsible for feeding yourself the correct beliefs about who you are. You can't go by the ones that your environment, that your parents, the other adults in your life taught you in the beginning. You've got to now create the truth about who you are, being a magnificent, divine, unlimited being that's capable of creating the life of your dreams. And that's the direction that everybody needs to go in.
Vincent, you brought up negativity. How devastating is that to us?
Okay, we'll go back to the book of Revelation. You asked such great questions, George. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
The book, I will go back to the Old Testament. Let's go back to Sodom and Gomorrah. There was a town, and that's a story about a town that there was all this negativity going on inside of it. So they started off good, helping each other, but then it was all corrupt. People were killing each other, having sex with anybody and anything, and all of this horrible negative stuff was going on, and they're building up these negative forces. So eventually an angel came down, went to this guy Lot, who was a very spiritual man, and said, hey, listen, God is going to destroy the planet. In actuality, what he told them is, because you're tapped into the God force, you're going to destroy yourselves again like you did in Atlantis, okay, unless you wake up 11 people. Their positiveness, their spiritualness, will counter this negativeness because positive is stronger than negative. Okay, so Lot went and tried to find them. He couldn't find them. So the angel said, hey, listen, if you can at least find 9 people, then you'll stop the major destruction. Maybe there'll be an earthquake, maybe there'll be a flood or a fire, but you won't all die. So he tried to find 9. He couldn't find 9. The angel said, well, I would just take everything and get out of there, otherwise, because everything is going to come to you know where if you stay behind. I can't help you anymore because you're not reversing this. Negativity is destructive. And because we were told from the very beginning is when you were created, when I were created, when everyone was created, we were told we were created in its image, the source's image. So we have power, and our power is so strong and the vibration is so high that it has dominion over everything that's physical. In other words, it can affect anything that's physical.
Hold on, Vince. We're at the break. We'll come right back and chat more and take calls next with Vince and Jenna on Coast to Coast AM.